Sunflower Story Hour, Episode 3, Familial Suspects, written by Giulyana Gamero. Last time on Sunflower Story Hour.
Well, if you don't tell us, I'm gonna assume that you're guilty of murder, and then you'll be our top suspect. You don't want that, do you?
If it's your job, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and get back to work.
Detective, are you okay?
Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up!
Detective,
Yes, Stella?
I forgot the vase. Hubbard Foods? It's pre-packaged.
Sir, you are being detained. Not only for being the main suspect in this murder, but for faking being a chef.
What?
If you wanted to take a nap, you could have just said so.
Maybe. I haven't decided yet.
Maybe you should take one. Might do you some good.
Maybe.
And here we're brought to our detective who stands at the foot of the bed, stressed. He thinks for a second before deciding whether or not to rest like Stella suggested.
Sorry, Stella. I don't have a second to spare.
The detective propped himself up at the mirror in the bedroom, staring at his reflection, then looking down at his notes.
I need to get this under control. The chef has reason to do something like this, but I need to think it through some more.
Of course you do.
I need to interview the family, not just the help around here.
I gave my family everything they want.
So, what do you mean then?
I mean that you'd be wasting your time, son. I gave them everything they wanted. Everything to be successful.
The detective highly doubted that.
You know, Mayor, I mean no disrespect, but you've not an inkling of who has done this to you, and you can't be so sure of anything.
Fine. But just keep on. It'll just be singing my praises.
The detective huffed and turned his back to the apparition.
I don't have time to deal with this.
The detective examined the room thoroughly, his eyes logging onto the unemptied trash bin nestled in the corner.
Seems like the maid skipped past this.
The detective rolled up his coat sleeves and reached into the bin. Reaching past some wrappers and broken trinkets, the detective made a discovery.
Aha! A few crumpled pages and,
He laid the torn papers on the floor in front of him.
soot on the edges. A bit charred and no writing.
He squinted.
But the imprint of words are still there. Someone must have been writing on top of this. They forgot to burn this one too.
He barely made the words out on the page.
Hemlock. 80 cents for 5 flowers. Found the killer. Now time to find the culprit.
The detective pocketed the papers and slammed the door open, making his way downstairs. As he walked down, an out-of-breath Stella caught him down the steps.
Detective! I couldn't find the vase.
That's quite alright, Stella. I have an interesting little piece of evidence I'll share with the group.
The detective walked down the steps with Stella at his side and faced the party of concerned folk.
Well, everyone, I found the killer. Apologies. I found the poison.
So, in terms of actual suspects, you've none?
Well, I know whoever did this must have made a purchase consisting of 5 flowers of hemlock.
Mother?
The detective cocked an eyebrow at the mayor's wife and stood at the ready. Beatrice, however, went pale and pursed her lips.
Anything to say for yourself, Miss Beatrice?
Why, a receipt isn't proof of anything at all.
So it is your receipt then, correct?
It is, Detective.
Can't believe this, Mother.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to take you in for interrogation. And for that matter, Doug and Sheriff, you two will follow in terms of interrogation.
Well, this is unexpected.
Detective, I don't know if I trust your judgment.
Oh, that's quite all right, Doug. I don't need you to trust me. I just need you to comply.
The detective shot a wink at the mayor's son.
Come along, Beatrice. There's a lot of explaining to do.
The detective and Stella guided Beatrice into the small room where they conducted the previous interrogations.
So, hemlock, huh? What's that about?
I'm not a killer. I swear it.
Beatrice, I just need you to be honest with me. This is a really scary situation with a lot happening all at once. I can see why you'd be worried.
No one's blaming you just yet, ma'am. We just want to know what's happening.
Beatrice squirmed in her seat.
I promise you both, I genuinely meant no harm. No physical harm, that is.
The detective raised a brow.
I ordered a bouquet of flowers from my sister in Oregon. I had them mailed from a secret admirer.
Secret admirer?
Oh, just to keep the mayor on his toes a bit. Make him feel a little red. If he thought I was being sought after by another, it'd eat him up.
But why burn the receipts?
That wasn't me, Detective. I may not approve of many of my husband's actions, but murder? I don't hate him that much.
So, you weren't so fond of your husband then?
Beatrice rolled her eyes.
Well, I sure wasn't a fan of him. In love? Maybe at one point, but I have no deep tie with the man anymore. And especially not now that he's passed.
Not to be rude, Miss Beatrice, But why stay with him? I mean, obviously there was some motive to stay around.
Darling, the wealth was well worth the verbal jabs. And besides, I wouldn't dream of breaking my sweet boy's heart.
Regardless, you still bought those flowers. How can I be so sure you didn't slip him some in his tea or dinner? Or even accidentally?
Why, I just wouldn't do such a thing. Like I said before, I would never break my little Douglas's heart, and I surely couldn't have killed him tonight. I wasn't even at the party most of the time.
Right. The maid did say something about being with you through the night.
Miss Beatrice, would you mind talking about what may have been distressing you tonight? Just so we have a clearer picture of what might have happened.
Hearing the mention of the earlier chaos made the mayor's wife sniffle.
I'm just so angry at that man.
Go on. It's all right.
He didn't deserve that when Detective, that crooked, wicked man.
Just then, a wind came.
Beatrice, how could you? She lies, son! She lies!
The detective's face tightened. He clenched his jaw, but only placed a hand on the sniffling woman's shoulder, ignoring the ghost.
And why is that?
He was a cheater. In every definition of the word, he was a crook. I can't say any more, Detective, but please. I wasn't in attendance at the party.
Yeah, Miriam
was there with me the whole time. I promise. Please, I'm just so...
You conniving woman.
I'm so angry with myself that I'm relieved he's gone. It's horrible. I'm a horrible, horrible person.
We consider her a wife. You'll see.
Hey, it's all right, Miss Beatrice. I can see why it may be relieving.
Detective, control your tongue.
The detective grit his teeth, but he still paid no mind to the spirit.
Thank you, Beatrice. That'll be all for now. Stella, fetch me Douglas.
Stella gave a nod, wiped Beatrice's face with her sleeve, and led her by the hand to the others. Once the door was shut, the detective turned to the mayor.
You need to control yourself.
Oh, I need to control myself? You're just letting her go on. No repercussions, son. God, you're terrible.
Hemlock takes no sooner than 20 minutes to take effect. It couldn't have been her if she was cooped up in her room in a rage.
And you just let her spit a fit to your face.
You know, Mayor, I get the impression that you might just not want to face the music as to what your folks think about you, and I mean what they really think about you, and I'm getting real sick and tired of it. I'm serious.
So, is that how it is? You're giving up on me?
Of course not. But you need to hold your horses. Let me do my job.
Fine. But you best figure this out, son.
With one last ghastly look, the mayor vanished.
Come on in.
Detective, I really don't know what you want from me, or questioning me.
Oh, I know, Doug. I promise I won't be asking you any more questions than what is necessary.
The mayor's irked son sat down, placing his head in his hand, and the questioning began.
Now, you knew that your mother bought hemlock?
She said she was arranging a bouquet, that she'd be buying all sorts of flowers.
So, you were aware of a potential item that could poison your father?
If you're pointing fingers, then you should know anything could be poisoned with enough intent.
I'm not. Look. Okay, Doug. Let's just take it a step back. Your father, how aware were you that he might have been engaging in some rather shady practices?
Douglas's face softened up at the mention of corruption, and he pursed his lips before speaking.
My father was never the most honest man.
And you, not just his son, but his heir, would be privy to all the ins and outs of his business, correct?
My father's business is successful, but I have little know-how, and what I do know, he never taught me.
He never taught you? So who did?
Earl, the man who's been listening to my father nag and moan about the dirty work his business entails since forever.
The detective cocked his head, leaning in as if to urge the son to continue.
Obviously, it's not like he's a qualified businessman, but he taught me more than that. He taught me to be fair and just, to be empathetic. More than what my father ever did.
I can see why you may have held some resentment towards your father.
More than that, it's like he never prepared me for any kind of true leadership. He seemed to have been setting me up for failure the whole time.
And that could very well be the reason for you two.
Doug balled his hands into fists and slammed them onto the table in front of him.
I didn't kill my father, Detective. I'm done speaking to you.
The detective furrowed his brow. He held a hand up before dismissing the man.
Doug, you did not have a strong alibi, and I have probable reason to believe some involvement in the murder of your father. You are currently being detained.
What? I just can't believe this.
The detective handcuffed Doug, opened the door leading out to the party, and greeted everyone.
Oh, my sweet baby.
Quickly, the protective mother tended to her son, swinging her arms around the young man.
What's the matter, Detective? What's going on?
Please tell me it wasn't him. Doug, It wasn't you, was it?
Mother, please.
Settle down, folks. This is, unfortunately, a part of the process to ensure the right person is caught. I need you all to trust me here.
How do we go on from here, Detective?
Well, the last person I'll be interrogating is you, Sheriff.
I know.
Stella, you stay here with the others. We'll get this sorted out right away.
The sheriff sat up, trudging alongside the detective who led him into the interrogation room.
Well. Isn't it the fella who stuck his nose a little too deep into my business?
The detective flinched slightly at the sound of the mayor's voice.
Looks like the tables have turned now. Haven't they, Sheriff?
Ignoring the grating sound of the mayor's voice, the detective began with the interrogation.
So, Sheriff, you initially called me here to investigate corruption within the election conducted by the mayor?
That's correct.
And how long had you been in attendance at the celebration before the body was discovered?
Oh, I don't know, Detective. Maybe 40 minutes, an hour.
Sheriff, give me a rundown as to what you were up to until the butler, Earl, alerted everyone to the murder.
I talked to the butler. Other party goers. I didn't mingle much. But that's only because I was set on giving that mayor a talking to.
As if.
But you couldn't find him, could you?
I asked Earl to fetch him for me. But well, the rest is history. The man was dead.
And you're just as likely to have done it.
When you yourself were searching for him, where did you end up going?
The sheriff's eyes wandered around aimlessly in the room in a desperate attempt to recall the memory.
Just around where the crowds were, weaving in and out of them.
The bathroom, perhaps?
Please, Detective, I had already told you about this investigation prior. Why would I have done anything to ruin it?
As far as I'm concerned, you were here just as long enough to be guilty as any other person here.
Oh, you know the more time you spend pointing fingers at me, the more time is lost to catch the killer.
The detective sighed and placed a hand on his pocket that had one last pair of cuffs inside.
Is there anyone at all who can provide an alibi for you before you had talked with Earl?
Speak now, or forever, and I mean forever. Hold your peace, Sheriff. Come on!
The sheriff cleared his dry throat, and with pallid visage and chapped lips, he sighed. His anger dissipated into being completely resigned.
No, Detective. I understand if you need to detain me.
The detective, upset by his coworker, placed the sheriff in handcuffs.
I apologize, Sheriff, but it is necessary to keep secure those with no solid alibi at the manor. I hope you can understand.
Oh, Sheriff, if it was you, I must say you are crooked more so than me.
Let's go get this over with then.
The detective escorted the sheriff out, and they faced the party for the last time.
Oh, jeez. Now the sheriff is in cuffs?
I thought he was the one looking into all this corruption. And now look at him.
Relax, Doug. I'm just going through the procedure you and the chef have gone through.
That's not at all relieving.
The sheriff's right, though one's career doesn't make them immune to the effects of the law.
At that moment, the groundskeeper and tumbleweed enthusiast leapt from his seat in annoyance.
So, what's the holdup on the search? We have 3 fellas in cuffs, and I haven't seen my tumbleweeds in hours.
Right. So, the next steps from here are...
Detective, I found the vase.
The party hastily scrambled towards Stella's voice in the far-off kitchen. There on the floor laid the cerulean vase, formerly containing the keys of the partygoers, now shattered in pieces on the floor.
Oh, I think I'm gonna faint.
Ugh, how could this have
The
happened?
girl did allow us all to use the restroom. Perhaps someone quickly snuck away.
Well, the chef and Doug were in handcuffs, and I was being interrogated.
That rules out 3.
And no one heard anything?
We couldn't hear anything over the sound of us talking.
Detective, I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right, Stella. No matter, folks. We will just conduct some searches and find out the meaning of this.
So who shattered the vase? Perhaps the distant maid, the oddball groundskeeper, the loyal butler, or Beatrice, the distressed wife of the mayor? Place your vote through our website or our Instagram at Sunflower Story Hour, and we will see you very soon for another episode. Thank you, and good night.